My name is Gerald Dietert, but everybody calls me Jerry. I'm a retired physician, and I joined the Exchange Club of Missoula in, I believe, March of 1959. The first club was organized in September of 1938, and it got along pretty well until World War II came along to the United States, and then they started losing members to the service and to the war industries and so on, and finally disbanded. A second club was formed in September of 1947, and for some reason the membership quickly dwindled from 49 members to 20, and then fell to 12. So that club was disbanded. And finally, a third exchange club was formed on October 26, 1957.
Oh, my name's Stuart Price, a retired architect, and I'm a charter member of the Exchange Club, joining it October 26, 1957. The Nationals sent a man out from Dayton, Ohio, scouting around Missoula, and I was one of the first that he, came to visit me in my office, and I sent him over to George Barrow, another architect in town, and I had known some of the other members from previous clubs, and one of them was my high school homeroom teacher, and another was a druggist that had a drugstore on the corner of Higgins and 3rd Street, Kenny Vincent, and I can't remember who else, but all real examples of somebody that I wanted to join up with.
Well, one of the early projects was selling seat belts, and then we had a installation set up out in front of the Florence Hotel, and people that bought them could come by and we'd put them in for them. We give away flags to the kids at the homecoming parade, done that for a number of years. Actually, the first one was out at the fairgrounds. Then we went to the field house when it just had a dirt floor, and it was originally a sports show. And then it got bigger and bigger, and we turned it into a home and sports show. And that went on until 1989. We were making about $10,000 a year, which was pretty good for an event. It didn't take a lot of work except getting people to participate. But gradually the number of merchants diminished, and we finally gave it up as a project.
Well, one of my memorable occasions was the establishing of the Little Grizzly football team. And we had, it was an inspiration, I think, of one of our members who was going to be a future mayor of Missoula. And we had club members that were pretty strong in the athletic field. And I think of Harley Lewis. He was the AD at the university, and Nick Mariana. He was a sportscaster, and who else, Jerry?
Well, Mike Craig, of course, was.
Oh yeah, Mike Craig. Yeah,
he was always interested in grade school tackle football, and instead of calling it Pop Warner or something, it was a Little Grizzly.
But we nursed that along for 2 or 3 years, at which time we took them out and scrimmaged them, and we played games, and we taught them how to play as best we knew.
Refereed.
And refereed.
Well, it got so big that really we couldn't handle it. We just kind of opened it to the community, and of course it not only got big, but it was a job supplying equipment and so on. So sponsors had to provide the uniforms and other equipment and so on.
And I'd like to mention the fact that we ushered the Grizzly football and basketball games for over 50 years, and until they thought they could find better help. But we did a good job, and got a lot of satisfaction from it.
My name is Bob Deaton. I've belonged to the Exchange Club since 1987. And the way I got involved, Fred Stout and Dan Morgan here invited me as a guest several times. And finally one day Fred came up to me and said, "How many times have you been here?" And I said, "I think I've been here 6 times. And with very deadpan expression said, "Isn't it time you started paying your dues?" I was a UM professor in social work from 1969 to 99, and retired with 30 years. And as part of the community service component and expectation to do some work in the real world, became involved with starting Parenting Place. Well, to indicate the range of things, I've enjoyed the years we ushered at the football games, which spanned over 20 years, I think. And then awards that we give to youth in pretty specialized ways in the community. Have the ACE Awards for youth who are bootstrapped in ways themselves out of many sorts of difficulties. And at the other end of the spectrum, the outstanding high school seniors in town. But most especially the support to Parenting Place.
Well, my name is Dan Morgan, and I've been a member now of the Exchange Club for 35 years. And I have a kind of a unique entry into the club as well. 35 years ago, Jerry Dietert, in an effort to break the all-male domination of service clubs across the country, in line with kind of a constitutional move across the country. These are public service agencies, they're gender-oriented, and maybe it's time to mix the gender up. Had invited my wife, Idell, at the time, to join the Exchange Club. And so when he offered her name up for membership, the membership voted her down. Wanted to remain all male. So I think out of guilt, they said, "Does she have a husband?" And he said, "Well, sure." He said, "Well, why don't you invite him to join?" And so that's how I came into the Exchange Club 35 years ago, on the shirt tails, or maybe skirt tails, of my wife, who wasn't allowed in at the time.
We should emphasize that many members have come into the Exchange Club on purpose and at their own initiative.
And I was, after I'd returned from Vietnam and received a second degree from the University of Montana, was employed by Missoula County District Court at the time, and coordinated the intensive counseling program for the District Court for 30 years before retiring. And also the acknowledgement and honor of our emergency service responders in the community with our Law Enforcement Officer of the Year program, as well as the Fire Officer recognition. I think we're one of the only agencies, if not the only service club that does this.
I'm Lee Cox. I've been a member of the Exchange Club for 6 years. I became interested in joining the Exchange because of their commitment to child abuse prevention, especially on the local level. The Exchange Club offers a lot of areas to fulfill that I would have never imagined would be satisfying and actually inspiring. The law enforcement banquet, where we honor law enforcement officers, the only organization in the community that does it on behalf of the community, that we thank officers and their spouses by inviting them all to dinner and honoring between 5 and 10 of their colleagues every year with a dinner on their behalf. Officers tell me that you can never thank them enough for the job they do. And the Exchange Club doing this on behalf of the community is a huge thing among law enforcement officers. My experience of the Exchange Club is when I wanted to make a difference in the community, there was a strong group of people that were very supportive of whatever it is that I wanted to try, whether it was a garage sale, whether it was donation warehouse, whether it was working on ACE Awards, but anything that I was driven and inspired to do, I had a large group of people that supported me and helped me build a sign. I wanted to see Parenting Place have a sign out front. Well, I took it to the club and said, I want to build this sign. Members got together, we cut boards, we made things, we did things, we dug holes, but I wasn't out there doing it by myself. There were people there that, because it was something that I was passionate about, there were people there to support me in doing what I was passionate about. And I find the same's true, that I love helping people do something they're inspired. The member who decided to bring the ACE Awards to our club, he had a strong group of people that supported him in doing that. He couldn't have done it by himself. So being able to do things you can't do by yourself with a group of people that are committed and show up and do the work and get it done, what a great organization for that purpose.
My name is Winton Kemmis. I've been a member of the Missoula Exchange Club, since 1991, if I remember, about 22, hopefully 23 years. And I remember a gentleman invited me to come to Exchange Club that many years ago, and ever since that time I've enjoyed being in the club, primarily due to the camaraderie that I've enjoyed with the other members of this club. So many people that I remember over the last 20-some years, and the good times that we have had at the football games, at the Give a Kid a Flag to Wave, in the homecoming parades, helping out with the Parenting Place, all the projects that we do with the law enforcement banquet, and including things as weeding our members' yards and cleaning up for help that they might need for our members' parents and so on. It's truly been a club that I've enjoyed. As I have gotten older, I have watched all of our members get older, and I've enjoyed all the activities that we have done throughout the years, and I have nothing more than to want to do to continue this process of meeting every week, listening to wonderful programs, and enjoying the camaraderie that we enjoy with one another during the meetings. Last year we have been looking for some projects to increase the amount of money that we can bring in for our programs in the Missoula Exchange Club, and we had a member that proposed a project called the Mile of Dollars, and we did this one through out at the fairgrounds. We actually put together a mile of string from traffic cones, and we put representatives of dollar bills as they were donated to us on this string, and we went for 2 days, and we raised a considerable amount of money in support of the Missoula Exchange Club, the Parenting Place, and all of the things that we do. And being the first activity of this sort for our club, we have now found better ways to get this done, incorporating more members of our club and of the periphery people that help out with the club, our wives and the groups that we do help, such as the Parenting Place. So I'm looking forward this year to an even better parade.
I'm Larry Anderson, and I'm retired after a number of years with local, county, and federal government. I also own my own business. I got into the Exchange Club as a after I sold my business and was invited to attend a meeting by Jim Van Fossen, a fellow I had worked with at the city of Missoula. I enjoyed the people and the programs they had there, and so I decided to join. And since that time, I've worked my way up through the offices and been president last year. And one of the projects that I remember that was very interesting to me was our project to build boats. One of the club members, Jerry Dietert, had raced boats up on Flathead Lake, and the Boy Scouts were looking for boats that were small individual craft that individual scouts could learn to sail by themselves, as opposed to the larger crude boats that they had up there at their camp at Melita Island on Flathead Lake. And so a group of us got together and decided that we would build 2 of these small 8-foot sailing boats and auction one off, and then donate the other one to the Boy Scouts. We got started and had a set of plans, and one of our members was a cabinet maker and a finished carpenter, and so he helped us lay out all the jigs for the thwarts and the gunnels and the learning how to measure on curved surfaces, since there weren't many straight edges on a boat. And after a number of weeks, we realized this was a bigger project than we had thought about, but we persevered, and a few of us kept working into the night, on many nights, to finish this and get it painted. And Ace Hardware and Tremper Shopping Center was good enough to let us sit outside in front of their place and sell raffle tickets. And finally, after many delays, we finally were able to donate one of the boats to the Boy Scouts, and the other one we were able to raffle off, which strangely enough was won by a club member. So we didn't make any money on that, but we hope that the Boy Scouts and the club member are enjoying their boats and learning to sail on that.
One other thing before I shut up. We sponsor what's called the Freedom Shrine, which consists of 38 important American documents. They range from things like the Declaration of Independence to the 20th Amendment, to Martin Luther King's famous speech. And we have a number of those in schools and other locations around Missoula.
I would echo the the same observations of Bob. Our club isn't extraordinarily large. We have 60 to 80 active members, and so most of us are involved in a lot of those projects. I think what Bob would have mentioned as well is the effort by the club to put U.S. constitutional historical documents in all of the schools.
Passing out flags to kids is an amazing program. You never can get more excited than you do when you see a child and you hand them a flag, how they light up. Americanism, reminding them what Americanism is, teaching them about Americanism through a number of programs. The Freedom Shrines, seeing people in the airport actually reading some of the most important documents that founded this country. Things like this that are kind of forgotten, unsung, unknown. The Exchange Club has been extremely powerful in working behind the scenes to remind our kids, what is Americanism? What is Americanism about?
My name's Fred Stout, and I'm a retired dentist. I am also the major shareholder in Mars Stout Inc., a local family business. And I will be a member of 50 years, December 1st of this year. And a good friend and a school buddy, Ray Smith, introduced me to the club and gave me some insight as to what the club did, and I was very interested in it from that standpoint. And new to the community at that time, just establishing a dental practice. And so it was a matter of liking what the objectives of the club was. And as of late, just yesterday, following along with the theme of patriotism and our national pride, was the recognition of the 9/11 activity that Exchange Club is a significant participant. And with our flag ceremonies of putting up an individual small flag for all of the victims of the Holocaust that occurred on 9/11 in 2001, every member that lost their lives has a flag and a recognition of that. And there was Susan Renault that was the individual that was emceeing it, and the American Legion, the VFW, the ROTC, the Honor Guard, the Knights of Columbus, military participation, former military, and our own President, Teresa Nygaard, giving remarks. It's an inspiring remembrance of a terrible situation that occurred in our country, and it's that type of exchange themes that I think prevail, that are really beyond a lot of community service organizations.
Well, the first project that comes to mind is the ACE Awards. And some people say it stands for accepting the challenge of excellence. I'm more of the school of accepting the challenge of education. And where we honor one student from each school, and I believe we've expanded out to Alberton, Arlee, Florence. So we bring in the whole community of high school seniors who have done something during their high school years that turned their life around. From the schools, we get the counselors to recommend kids who qualify for this award. And that means they've overcome some hardship or some obstacle that's really significant, like dealing with different diseases and still being active. One of the things I found that all the kids have in common is they figured out that giving back to their peers is the greatest thing they have. When talking to the kids, the ACE Award winners have always shared with me this is the first time in their life that they've been recognized for doing anything good or right. These kids have gone unnoticed and unrewarded throughout their whole time of change in school. The ACE Awards program is designed specifically to address these kids who go unrecognized, who have overcome huge obstacles. They don't have the family at home to support them. Now these are kids that some of them face hardships like one arm, some of them face hardships like losing their parents, some of them face hardships like having no parents, and these kids are kids who decided to take responsibility for their life and are going to graduate from high school, and all the ones I've seen so far are going to college.
I got into the Exchange Club because of my husband. He'd been a member, and I think he'd been going about 2 years, and I honestly thought it was a club for men. And every now and then he'd say, you should come because the programs are terrific. And he would come home and he'd tell me all about a fabulous program, but I still thought it was just for men. So one day I came and saw that there were a few women there, and since I became a member, became involved, I realized that the club is growing with female membership. And what I love about it is the warmth and the caring community of both men and women about Missoula and the needs of Missoula for people who have they have needs. It could be a variety of different things, but the parenting place is one of the most important aspects of club work. I shouldn't say that. I should say it's part of what club work does. There are wonderful programs for students in high school who have had very difficult times in achieving a level of good academic grades, who have been able to pick themselves up from really dire circumstances, and they're getting ready to go on to college, and they have an opportunity to have their past reviewed, and decisions are made and awards are given to these young people. Very meaningful program.
One of the reasons that I got into the club and remain in the club is their focus on child abuse prevention and youth programs. One of the most interesting programs for me is called the ACE Awards, and in that program the club and the local schools recognize young folks that have persevered through a variety of personal tragedies and personal experiences to obtain their high school diploma. And most of these young men and women are not the ones that you see as homecoming queen or football stars. Are usually ignored, but they have managed to overcome these personal difficulties and graduate. So with the cooperation of the schools, not only Missoula County Public Schools, but surrounding areas, we are able to honor at least 5 to 6 local youth per year, give all the participants who write an essay a $500 scholarship towards future education, and the winner of the essay contest is awarded a $1,000 scholarship and gets to go on to our regional and national competition for the ACE Awards. And for many of these kids, this is the first real recognition that they've had in their life for accomplishing something. And we're also trying to get community sponsors so that the community is able to recognize these young adults for what they've achieved. And the other programs that we have are our community service, law enforcement, recognition of area law enforcement personnel, the firefighters recognition banquet, and we just enjoy one another's company, and have been able to make lifelong friendships through my time in the Exchange Club.
Mine's probably first because I was the first to be asked to take a look at doing something in the community. My position at the youth court at the time was just coming off of a 3-year declining match grant from the federal government. We had put into the county to refund the grant. And it was just about time to hear about that funding process. And I had come to work, and that afternoon had gotten a summons, a call to come to the county commissioner's office, Barbara Evans specifically. And so I came in and sat down, and she just started ranting about this scene that she had seen taking place in one of the big box stores a couple of days before. She'd been in line waiting to go through the cash register, and there was a young girl and one of her children in front. And the child was just kind of acting out a little bit, but the mother was acting overly aggressive towards the little girl. And it really bothered Barbara. And so she called me in, being a human service oriented worker in the county, and wanted to know if there was any programs short of Department of Family Services that would have removed the child from the mother, and possibly that might have been even more caused more difficulties long term. If there was something that existed in the community to help this young woman learn how to maybe parent better. And after some consideration, I said, you know, there really isn't. And she says, well, why don't you look into it? And in the meantime, I'm going to look to see if we can find some money at the county level. And I had an interesting position in the sense that I worked in the district court, in the youth court. I had been contacted by Barbara, but I also knew Bob Deaton over at the university in the social work department, because he and I were collaborating on some depression and suicide informational workshops at the time. And so I knew Bob was an outreach coordinator and ran grants for the Department of Social Work. And so I consulted with Bob on this, and maybe you can pick up from there as to how the program evolved kind of from there.
1981, a grant became available to the county commissioners in Missoula County. I believe it was sort of a one-time federal grant. Provided money to start up a prevention program in child abuse and neglect. It's important to understand that prevention of child abuse and neglect is the very last thing funded in child welfare services, just because there's so much demand, particularly on the foster care budget, staffing the program and providing services to neglected children who are being served. So the small amount of prevention money that was available was all sucked up again. And here was a small amount of money. And Dan and I, together with about 15 other people in the community, these were public health nurses, public school teachers, school counselor, interested citizens and parents. We all got together as kind of a voluntary collective to establish what we could in child abuse prevention. So as we were getting some of these things off the ground, a year later came along the Exchange Club. And it may have been mentioned that the Exchange Club had a very successful funding project every year called the Trade Fair. And that project went for several years. It was in its prime. And the club had actually generated a little bit of surplus of funds. So Fred Stout, Jerry Dietert, who are also in this program today, came forward with 6 other exchange members, and they offered us not only money, but they also offered real specialized services that we needed. An attorney to draw up the nonprofit corporation papers, Jerry Dietert, Fred Stout, Fred Gerlach, and others help us with a business plan, an organizational plan, this fledgling organization. And this professional services, together with the money they put in, really gave us a start to nourish this thing and make it grow. Or quite honestly, it may have just been a good-hearted volunteer effort that died soon after being started. There's a big lesson here for the whole community, and that is if a service club or another organization of local citizens get together to offer some real services they know how to provide in business and the professions, and in accounting and law, et cetera, our local private charities can become just a lot more productive. And that's what happened to us. Well, that's done by bringing together the needs that the parents and the children have right now. Certainly most neglectful parents also are people without adequate resources. There's not enough money for food, clothing, shelter, child care, no housing or inadequate housing, etc. But think about what you know about the basic causes of child abuse or neglect. And they go back in most cases to not being well cared for, the parents not being very well cared for themselves, particularly in the younger years. So it's a process of designing programs to meet parents and and offer them a lot of support, provides additional services to children that they need in addition to those that the parents provide, all without trying to take over the parents' role. So specifically, these amount to these sorts of program efforts. First, or parenting classes. These are 6, 8, or 12-week classes for parents of children in certain age groups, from infancy on up through teenager, to help them learn parenting skills that maybe they never learned in the first place, or certainly never had in their own lives growing up. Secondly, something we call the Parent Aid Program, which is a program of the National Exchange Club Foundation for Prevention of Child Abuse. Parent Aid Program, even though it's many years old, has now become very important and offered by several agencies. What it is simply is providing services unobtrusively, but clearly in the home with the parents and the children right there, particularly on child development and parenting skills right in the home. And another program that relates is respite meals on Monday and Wednesday nights. Selected families who especially can benefit from it can call in between 8 and 9 on a Monday or Wednesday morning and get a place for their children to be at parenting place from about 5:30 to 8 p.m. that night. They receive a simple but nutritious meal. They receive guided play activities by trained volunteers and part-time staff, mostly university students in education, childhood education or social work. And there are other kinds of programs, but these are the main three.
Well, initially, if we go back quite a distance, would be in 1981 would be the formation of the Child and Family Resource Council, which was and is the forerunner of Parenting Place, as it is now called. And we were instrumental as Exchange-ites in raising some funds from members as well as from the community and the county commissioners to fund the initial cost of the formation of Child and Family Resource Council. But it had its origin from the county commissioners that thought that something of that nature would be of benefit to the county and surrounding areas. And so with their emphasis and some of the help, as I mentioned, $5,000 grant, that initially that was, as far as I know, the initiation reason for the funding has morphed through several projects over the years. We had a Montana and Missoula, Western Montana, actually, sports show, and that was the prime fundraiser for many years. That kind of dissipated as far as participation of individual businesses, and so at that time we needed some replacement funding, and we derived what was called the Workathon, where the individual Exchange-ites would work for charitable organizations, and in return for that donated time to the charitable organizations, they would seek sponsorship for those hours from various community businesses, friends, and anyone that they could garner some financial support for. That started in 1995, and that was coordinated with the development and formation of the Child Abuse Prevention Center, which was a sanctioned national Exchange Club Foundation action and activity. And they had encouraged it over the years for the various Exchange clubs throughout the United States. But we hadn't had the means at that time to get into that amount of responsibility of individually doing a CAP center on our own. So melded very well with Parenting Place, and that has been the administrative body for the CAP Center, Exchange CAP Center, the Child Abuse Prevention Center.
Well, my name is Teresa Nygaard, and I've actually, this month is pretty important in my life, because 12 years ago I became the director of the Parenting Place toward the end of this month. This month was also the first club meeting that I ever attended. was during October 12 years ago. So as far as being a member, I know I joined shortly after my first club meeting, so it's been in the neighborhood of 11 and a half years that I've been a member. And also interesting was that it wasn't necessarily something that I looked around and found a club and decided, oh, I was going to join this club. This was part of the expectation of being the director of the parenting place. 12 years later, I'm so glad that it was an expectation, because it's been such a wonderful experience to be involved with so many service-minded people. And when you have like-minded people who are interested in bettering our community any way we can, and for me especially, the focus has been child abuse prevention. And so it's just been great to have people that I can look to help out when there's a call of action, or to address issues that might be something that will make our community better. So, well, the Parenting Place was started, ironically, by members of the Exchange Club 31 years ago. So there's a lot of really interesting linkages here with the club and the Parenting Place and child abuse prevention. And so over 30 years ago, club members were critical pieces of the puzzle in getting the organization off the ground. We had club members who provided legal assistance, those who provided financial assistance, those who provided any number of other kind of expertise when it came to creating the organization and then implementing services. Several of our club members actually were co-directors in the first couple of years of the organization's existence. So the Parenting Place has had a lifelong connection to the Exchange Club. And I think sometimes we introduce new Exchange Club members and maybe they don't know our history, that we were born of the Exchange Club. And so that makes us special in the community. And it makes us special in Exchange. So the services that we started offering 30 years ago were mostly parent education classes, along with childcare, so that wasn't a barrier for people to attend. And basically that was it. And then in '95, we introduced the Parent Aid home visiting model. The home visiting model gave us an opportunity to actually go into people's homes and really see what families were doing in their own environments. So the class setting gave us one perspective, the home visits gave us another perspective. And then a few years later, we incorporated the respite program into our service capacity, and we started doing respite care for families. It's been another critical piece of the puzzle, in that we bring families in the doors that wouldn't normally come in for those other services we offer. Once they get in the doors and start utilizing respite care, that's where they see we're not such bad people, we're not going to take their kids, we're not going to do those things that they assume that we're connected to, and we start building a relationship. And then we have people go into the classes and go into the home visiting services, which are great companions for one another. Respite care, I think, is one of our most confusing services to people, because I think they think that it is simply just drop off childcare and people get to go out and go to the bar or whatever. And that's not the case. What happens with our respite program is that we enroll families. We have an entire enrollment and intake procedure. We find out what the family's risk level is, meaning, what is their risk of child abuse and neglect? If it's fairly high, they're definitely going to get a spot on our list, because it gives them an opportunity to do a little de-stressing and to do a little self-care for themselves. Then they can come back and be more toward that 100% when they come back to parent after a few hours. And we've seen it time and again. People walk through the doors completely stressed. They look like they just can't do it anymore. They drop off the kids, and the kids get to enjoy 3 hours of having a nice, nutritious meal, structured activities, time with appropriate and positive caregivers, and the parents walk back in 3 hours later looking a little more refreshed. and ready to take the kids home, go through the bedtime routine, and get at it again. So all nonprofits, 5-6 years ago when the economy turned ugly, we all really experienced that panic of where are the dollars going to come from to further our causes. So it wasn't just isolated to one nonprofit or another. It didn't differentiate between any of us. It hit us all. And so what we realized pretty quickly was that everybody was impacted, up to the foundations, the corporations, all of those folks that were responsible for helping to fund nonprofits at our level. And what we also realized was that we didn't have enough unrestricted funds. So the grants that we were able to capture, and they were getting fewer and fewer dollars, but those grants were very specific. They were supposed to be used for very specific items. Very few of the grant sources want to pay to keep the lights on or to keep your staff at a certain level. Most of them want to do direct services with that or buy supplies or something. And so the unrestricted dollars was what we needed to get more of. And with the creation of Donation Warehouse through the Exchange Club, that became our source of unrestricted dollars, because the Donation Warehouse was created for the sole purpose of funding child abuse prevention, which is us in Missoula. And we also are connected to Exchange, so it's a perfect family. You have Exchange, you have Donation Warehouse, and you have the Parenting Place. So we're a great little family unit. We all take care of each other, and I think that's something that wasn't happening before, and now we can really focus on sustainability for the future for all three. You know, it's something that I'm very passionate about, and I have been, otherwise I wouldn't be here for 12 years. I just can't figure out why I was the only one that got the memo on prevention. No one else got it. So I have to really voice this out loud all the time. If we have an opportunity to prevent a child from having any sort of trauma that will create hardships in their life from that point on, wouldn't we take that opportunity? So what we have is kind of an abstract view of prevention, and a lot of people don't see that. They would rather make a backpack and take it to a child that's already been abused versus put some funding into preventative services where we're going into families who have high risk but they haven't abused their child yet. We need to sway the pendulum back to this side. We need to really put our energy and efforts into primary prevention and some secondary prevention. That doesn't mean that we cut services to those other needed services, but we need to put more effort into this end of the continuum in order to tip the scale. Well, if anybody wanted to get in touch with any of us at the Parenting Place, you could email us at info@parentingplace.net. You could call us at 728-KIDS or 728-5437. You can also find us on the corner of 8th and Catlin, which is 1644 South 8th West, or at the Exchange Club. Yeah.
So back to the Parenting Place, though, this is a program for people that need help in good parenting, and also even pre-release people are brought into that program and given courses on how to be better parents and to have better family relations.
I agreed to sit on the board of Parenting Place, which is the Child and Family Resource Council that was helped being started in 1981 by the Exchange Club. And 1/3 of the board is made up of Exchange Club members. Parenting Place has been a great opportunity for me to not only learn leadership skills, but to be able to provide service to the community, especially the children. Parenting Place is a child abuse prevention center, and they accomplish their goal of preventing abuse of children by strengthening families through education, through support, and through helping families. Well, when I went on the board 6 years ago at Parenting Place, we had a budget of about $250,000, and 70% of that was coming from grants. At that time, the economy changed, and we lost more grants every year until last year we were faced with basically having to close. We were within 3 weeks of closing our doors. Through the Exchange Club, we were able to increase our services instead of closing our doors. Now, that came from a project called the Donation Warehouse, which was started from a garage sale that we had, and I was highly involved in the getting Donation Warehouse running. Previous to getting funding from Donation Warehouse, the Exchange Club had contributed money every year, and the last few years we had put a lot of extra money in to help because of the downturn in the number of grants we were getting. The Exchange Club agreed to turn over the operation of all funds from Donation Warehouse directly to Parenting Place, which in the month of August this year provided $8,000. So it was a year ago in June that we were looking at closing. The Donation Warehouse funding, along with other providers of additional funding, took Parenting Place from looking at closing their doors to, by the end of the year, we had paid off $30,000 in debt, and we had about $4,000 left over come January 1st. This year, we are expanding our services and adding more employees to serve more kids and more families than ever before. For an example, August is the largest month we receive a donation from Donation Warehouse. In August, we received $8,000. That funding has allowed Parenting Place to not only keep their doors open, but to actually thrive. Well, Donation Warehouse is a for-profit company that contracts with Parenting Place, originally contracted with the Exchange Club, to provide the service of picking up donated appliances and furniture, refurbishing them, cleaning them, repairing them, doing whatever it took to get them ready for sale, and then they're sold. Of the sales proceeds, they pay their whatever expenses they had in picking it up or repairing it, so on and so forth, and the profit then is split with Parenting Place or the Exchange Club 50-50, and which equates to 2 people being employed in our community full-time and working at a job they love, and the nonprofit or Parenting Place receiving anywhere from $5,000 to $8,000 a month in unrestricted funds. That means these funds can be used to pay the lights, to pay the gas bill, the electric bill, to buy that washing machine that they need, to buy that stove that they need, to buy that table, to buy crayons for kids, to buy toys for kids. This money is unrestricted, which grants are different. They require that you use that money for a specific use or a specific need, where the money received from Donation Warehouse gives the Parenting Place the freedom to make expansions and improvements in areas, to even pay wages. So in all the areas where grants can't cover, the Donation Warehouse does provide that funding. The community's been overwhelmingly supportive. Places like Wagner's, Vans, the Living Room, Al's Furniture, all have been incredibly supportive. But the general public, when they drop off their washing machine or dryer and it gets repaired and it gets put back into service, it not only helps Parenting Place, but it provides appliances and furniture for those who can't afford specifically new furniture, or even some of the stuff is quite expensive furniture that becomes very affordable you can buy an average washer and dryer for probably $225 for a pair at the donation warehouse, and they warranty them for 30 days. They take care of the people because they're serving an audience that's not being able to be served by anybody else in Missoula. People are able to deduct their donation of appliances or furniture at what they feel it's worth, and that they're willing to stand up to the IRS and say it's worth. But they receive a donation receipt from Parenting Place because all items in the donation warehouse actually belong to Parenting Place. All donations are donated to Parenting Place. And Donation Warehouse is strictly a service that takes care of getting that item processed and ready for sale and sold, and so that the funding goes directly to child abuse prevention.
If you want to learn more about the Exchange Club, you can go to our website at www.missoulaexchangeclub.org, or you can attend our meetings that we hold every week from noon to 1 at the Doubletree here in Missoula. And we'd love to have folks come in as a guest to learn more about the programs that we offer every week. We have guest speakers, and get involved in some of the community activities that we have been known for over the 50-plus years, the Missoula Exchange Club.